Welcome to Kera Dangerous Talk. Appreciate you coming on, John.
Yes, ma'am. It's my pleasure, Kara. How you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for asking. Can't complain. I woke up this morning, so that's a good
Yeah,
sign.
praise God. So you've been on the force for over 20 years. So with that being said, I know we're gonna have a great conversation today. Today's show is titled Law Enforcement versus Black People. A crazy thing to watch the relationship unfold between law enforcement and black folks because, we've been through so much together. In the past, we had the Sandra Bland's, the Tamar Rice's,
Yes.
with, I Can't Breathe, and George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and now Michaela Bryant, who's everyone's speaking of now. Dealings with the police just haven't gone too well for black people in America.
Yes, yes. And that Bryant case, oh my God, it has opened up so many different conversations over the past few days.
Yes, it really has. I mean, we got a young 16-year-old girl, calling the police, and she ends up being shot to death. Once you dig deeper in the case after seeing the body footage, you know, people started to kind of sway with their opinions. We're seeing officers make these split second calls that can either end or save a life. And just a lot of times, now that we can see it on camera, we're seeing some things we're not really happy to see, because we feel like a lot of people are being treated unfairly because of the color of their skin. And that's causing people more now than ever to fear being pulled over by the police or having any interaction with them.
Yes.
On today's episode, I just want us to have a conversation about some things, and especially I have some great questions from the Care Dangerous Talk audience, and I'm going to ask you some questions from them throughout this whole episode today, and I really can't wait to hear your responses.
Great. Let's get it rolling.
All right, let's do it. This is our first question here from an audience member.
Okay.
When when you pull over a person of color, do you have more fear than pulling over someone else? And this person said they asked the same question to a former chief of police, and he told this person yes.
Wow. Okay. So I can only speak for myself, Officer John.
Mhm.
As you said, I've been a veteran of law enforcement in the streets for 20 plus years. And for me, I there's a lot of factors that go into when you're pulling the car over.
Mhm.
You have to factor in the area that you're in. You have to factor in whether it's day shift, whether it's night shift, even the weather sometimes. Um, what I found is that when I pull someone over for, let's say, running a traffic light, running a stop sign, maybe crossing over the center line, and it might have been a mistake. At first, my sense of awareness is not heightened until the driver gives me a reason when I walk up to the car to be at a high alert. Um, Most of the time, in my situations, in my training experience, I haven't had that many exhausting confrontations with drivers.
Mhm.
I exercise, you treat people with respect, you get treated with respect. And so I'm going to approach the car as, being nice. Hey, excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me, sir. My name is Officer John. I pulled you over because of this reason. Now, I was taught this when I came in the academy. A
Mhm.
lot of my trainers actually started policing in the 50s and 60s and 70s. You know,
Mhm.
I came on in the 90s. So a lot of my training comes from that era, the quote, the old school style of policing, where they taught you to be courteous, to be nice. You pretend like that's your mother in the car, that's your grandmother in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if I pull over someone like during the daytime, I can see the race of the person. Say if I have to do a U-turn and go pick and go pull them over, I can see the race of the person, white, black. Again, to me, it didn't matter until I got up to the car and I started noticing signs of maybe that person was nervous or maybe that person was angry about something. Some people just mad because you pulled them over and they might be late for work. I say,
Mm-hmm.
look,
Right.
sir, I just want to pull you over, let you know you ran that light. I'm giving you a verbal warning, calm down. And they said, well, thank you, I'm just late. And then you let them go. That's that human side
Mm-hmm.
of law enforcement, which is these days you have the public, rightfully so, you have the public complaining about some officers just worried about wearing a gun and a badge, and they forget that human side of themselves.
Right.
But then I might pull over a car, say 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the hood, as they say, and I've got two or three in a vehicle, and I pull the car over, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen this car just cruise in the neighborhood. It's cruising, and I might know that over the past week or two, we've had a couple of drive-by shootings.
Okay. Yeah.
And so my alert status is I've got three black males in the car in a dark colored car. They riding around in this neighborhood where we have all this gang activity. And so do I have probable cause to pull them over? Okay, I might see a busted tail light, or they might do a traffic infraction, or
Mm-hmm.
they would get a report of gunshots in the area, dark colored car, four-door car. If I see that car pull out in front of me from a side street, at that time, I have probable cause to pull it over off of the description that I was just given on the radio. So
Okay.
quite naturally, if we have shots in the area, and I see that dark colored car, now they might be coming from a birthday party from their mama house, and these might not be the guys, okay? But I can pull it over just to do an investigative stop and say, hey, what's going on? You know, and if I look in the car and I see three people dressed like clowns, they got balloons and they got some cupcakes in the car, I'll say, look, y'all have a nice evening. But when I pull the car over and I hit the lights, and then you take me on a car chase, then I know something is up. So there are different factors that different officers go through in their minds and their gut feeling as to this stop is either going to be easy, a piece of cake, or this stop right here is going to get me on the news, or this stop I might have to fight somebody. So that's what goes on through an officer's mind at that time.
But for you particularly, I mean, there's no fear of pulling someone over based
No,
on color.
no. Like I said, when I pull a car over, I'm pulling you over for that specific infraction that I saw you commit. And so when I pull somebody over, just hey, get out the car. What makes me not fearful
Mm,
is I remember my training.
okay.
Okay.
Right.
And I'm going to try to make it safe for myself. Like you see some officers for whatever reason, they like people to get out the car and come talk to them, right? You see
Hmm.
people on the side of the road, hey, get out the car, step to the back. That's not me. I
Okay.
like I like the person to stay in the car. Okay. If you're gonna cause me harm, you're gonna have to work for it. Okay. So when I approach the car, I kind of position myself to where I can see you and then you can still see me. But I'm like, hey, what's going on? This is why I pulled you over. So it's not a fear, it's more of you don't want to expose yourself or let your guard down. But don't get me wrong, you do have some cops out there. I know some of them where they will put me on blast for saying this, but there
Hmm.
are some punks out there wearing guns and badges. Now, let me put that out there.
Yeah.
You do have officers who are afraid, and you have to pull them to a side at times and say, hey, look, are you sure you want to do this job? Are you sure you cut out for this? And believe it or not, I've seen people the minute they got the academy and on that first year on the road,
Hmm.
they leave before that first year is complete. I've seen people leave within 6 months because they can't handle
Wow.
it.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for that response. That was really good. I mean, yeah, I was going to ask you, were you surprised that this person said a former chief of police told them, yes, they do have more of a fear when they pull over a person of color, but I could guess you're not surprised by that.
No, I'm really not, because when you okay, when you have a black officer
Mm,
who is, say, he's from that hood, okay, he grew up in that hood, he made it out, he joined the police force because he wanted to do better by his community.
mm,
Okay, he might be used to those guys. Of course, he knows who the bad apples in his neighborhood is, right?
right.
He might not be afraid because he's interacted with black people. He's interacted in that hood. That's where he grew up at. But then you have a white officer who didn't really grow up around black people, who grew up in the suburbs, or let's say let's say that white officer did grow up in the city. Let's say he
Mm,
did grow up not in the hood, but in the average middle class family. But when he went to school, he mostly hung around, his crowd, because we all hang around and what we comfortable with. I mean, let's be honest.
that's true.
And he hasn't had that much experience with a black male from, quote, the hood, the streets, or black people, period. Other than you going to school with them, or you being on the football team with them, or whatever.
Mhm.
You don't hang out on their street. You don't hang out on their block. So quite naturally, you're going to have, in my opinion, more white officers who might be a little more alerted when they pull over a person of color. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you know what, to me, and I don't, we don't necessarily have to go this far, but that denotes a bigger problem is why are we looked at as such a threat, you know?
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna tell you something.
Okay.
The mainstream media doesn't help. Hollywood doesn't
Mm,
help. Okay. Um, People don't realize the power of words, the power of media. Um, you know, when you only look in the news and all you see is Chicago had 50 shootings over one weekend, right? In
mm,
this predominantly black neighborhood, and you see a white kid looking at this. So what's that going to put in their heads? Okay, oh man, black people are violent. You know, they've never been around black people in their life, and
mm,
believe it or not, I have met people in my lifetime that never really interacted with black people. And it's the same as, uh, some black person will go out there in the suburbs somewhere and be around a bunch of white people and be like, oh man, this is kind of weird. They do
mm.
things differently. It's a big culture shock, and that's what it is. So I do see and not all white officers, but some, a good many of them, they just, man, look, I don't know, man, I'm kind of scared. Well, if you're not sure about pulling the car over, then don't.
Mm.
You
You
know?
know that, and I will talk about different trainings and stuff towards the end of the show, but when you say that kind of things, it makes me feel like if you're gonna be fearful of people because of the color of their skin, and I get what you're saying, it's like they need to be immersed into that neighborhood and get a feel for people if they're gonna be so afraid to make bad choices,
Yes.
bad decisions. Because if it's just coming down to not understanding, I don't know if you want to call it cultural differences, or I guess it's not even cultural, but if you just been around a different culture and being around different types of people, if that's fearful because you're taking in what the media says, then either you that's not a job for you, or you need to get some diversity training. I guess that's what a
Yeah.
corporation call it, or something.
Uh-huh.
Okay, okay, very good for that first question. Let's move on to the second one. Okay, so here we go. I am a registered gun owner with an open concealed carry license. Considering what happened to Philando, excuse me, Castile, how should I answer when a police person asks if I have a weapon in the car? Because I do.
That cop was scary. Let me throw that out there. I have me myself. I have been in a situation where I have pulled over a car, walked up to the car, and the person, white or black, and I've had
Mm-hmm.
a good man tell me, "Sir, I have a weapon on my hip. I need to get my license registration." I said, "Okay, move slowly. Just stay away from that area. Hand me your license registration." "Thank you, sir. I'll be right back. Go look them up. If I'm a right, I'm gonna take
Mm-hmm.
them right, let them go. No problems. You have a nice day." Or I've handled the situation like this: take the holster slowly off of your hip and place it on the dash where I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had people do that. Again, white, black, it doesn't matter. Because there's a lot of people out there that tow pistols. And I've also had people where I'm walking up to the car and they've already got their pistol sitting on the dashboard and they've got their hands out the window. But
Mm-hmm.
that's my gun. And what I have done, I have reached in, I have grabbed the pistol, unloaded,
Mm-hmm.
put it on top of the car, and say, for your safety and mine, I'm going to take your magazine out. I'm going to unrack the round. I'm going to place it on top of the car. And I talked to him for a minute. "Hey, why did you do this? I saw you do that." "Oh, nothing, nothing, blah, 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 blah. Here's your weapon back, sir, ma'am, whatever. Drive safely. Have a nice day." So, to be honest with you, some people might have a weapon on their hip and they don't
Mm-hmm.
even tell the officer that there's a gun in the car. Sometimes, unless the officer's going to ask you outside the car, you don't have to tell us there's a weapon in the car.
Mm-hmm.
People say, "Oh, I have to tell you." No, no, you don't. You don't have to tell me there's a weapon in the car. Now, if you have the gun on your hip, and I say, "Sir, exit the vehicle," you can now, "Hey, sir, I have a gun on my hip," and then that's when I say, "Okay, well, slowly take it off, set it on the seat next to you, step out the car." And a lot can go wrong with that, but you have to make sure yourself is safe. You have to watch everything. But in my opinion, when I saw that happen to Philando Castile,
Mm-hmm.
I cried foul on the officer's part because I said, I've been in that situation so many times, and me, Officer John, I have not shot anyone. And to me,
Mm-hmm.
the cop was afraid, and that goes back to that question to the first question. You say, well, he pulled over a black male. He might have, in his mind, he might have been afraid because he was so ready to shoot, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what happened. That's what happened. So, and of course, I wasn't there, but again, I'm reaching for my license. I'm reaching for this. I'm not going for my gun. And I said, "Okay, thank you, sir." Again, I wasn't there, but I've been in that situation 100 times, and I have yet, in all these years, shot somebody because of it.
So just to reiterate, if you get stopped, we don't have to tell a police officer that there's a gun in the car. But I'm feeling like most of the time people just do that because they feel like if you find it and I didn't tell you, what if you.
You haven't, depending on your state laws. Now, I'm
Mhm.
going to speak on Georgia. Now, years ago, years ago, if you got caught with a gun under your seat, that was considered carrying a concealed weapon,
Mhm.
and you would go to jail for it. Nowadays, you can have a gun anywhere in your car because your car is an extension of your home. So if your gun is in the armrest or the glove compartments or under the seat, and I pull you over for running a traffic light, you
Mhm.
don't have to say, "Hey, Officer John, I have a pistol in the car." You don't have to tell me that. And say for whatever reason you have a warrant out for your arrest and you get arrested, and I search the car and I find the gun. I can't charge you with that. If anything, I will put the weapon in the crime lab for safekeeping, and then when you bond
Mhm.
out of jail, you can go and pick it up from the department. But I cannot charge you with having a concealed weapon. Now, do you know to this day,
Mhm.
we will have people that lead police on high speed chases, and guess why?
Oh man, don't tell me because they got a gun in the car.
Because they got a gun in the car. I said, "Sir, why did you run?" "I got a gun in the car." "And
Right.
are you a convicted felon?" "No." "Is the gun stolen?" "No." "Well, guess what? You weren't breaking the law."
Right. And what made them think they gonna beat y'all in a chase?
But I would tell you this. Do you know why The reason why they didn't know is because they don't read. They don't follow. Let me tell you something. One thing I want people to do:
Mm-hmm.
educate yourself on your state laws. Whatever state you live in, you educate yourself on. Just like you can log into Facebook every day and get online every day, go to Google, pull up
Mm-hmm.
your state laws, and read. And it will tell you everything you need to know. And I tell people all the time the reason why you didn't know that you can no longer get charged with carrying a concealed weapon in the car under your seat is because you haven't checked up on the law. You haven't read. And that law changed, say, 10 years ago. So for the past 10 years, you thought you were still breaking the law. But guess what? You weren't. So now you have eluding charges and reckless driving charges. And you weren't even doing anything when you got pulled over.
Wow. I mean, I can't believe people do run because of that, but you don't know who you're going to hurt if you start trying to run away from the cop in a car. You know, you don't know if you're going to crash into somebody else, and then you're probably not going to get away anyway. So,
I hate high speed chases. They are dangerous. Okay. And I hate them. And you're right. You don't know why that person is running. We've went to go had an officer pull someone over for, again, something as simple as running a red light. Come to find out, you catch the guy, he's got a murder warrant from another state.
wow.
So you never know who is in these cars driving. A lot of people think, man, y'all just want to chase people. No, we do not. Number one, it's a buttload of paperwork that you have to
Right.
fill out. You're probably going to get off late. In 6 months from now, when you think you've got you're off that day, guess what? You're going to spend your only off day of the week in court all day. And you're like, man, I got a subpoena. Oh man, that case really. I was supposed to be off tomorrow. So people think that we just want to come to work and just lock folks up and chase people all day. That is not true. We would like peace. Trust me on that.
Okay, I can hear that's something you really want to clear up right there.
Yes, yes, I'm telling you because there's a lot that people don't know because they're not on this side of the fence. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I was the same way. I was the same way and started until I started doing this job. I always ask myself, like, I was in high school when Rodney King happened.
Mm-hmm.
Man, why did I do that? That was wrong. And I was a big fan, still am a big fan of NWA and DJ Quick and all those guys, Tone Loc and all of them. I came up in that era, and so and to this day, those are some of my favorite rappers. And so that's when I became aware of police brutality. Hearing Cube and Easy and them talk about it, and Ice T, and and I'm talking about, oh man, that's right, they do this and this. Now, don't get me wrong. When I started doing this job, I now have a better understanding why police do certain things the way they do.
Mm-hmm.
Do we still have police brutality? Yes, the hell we do. Okay. Um, in certain cities, you have it more than others. Uh, Even in certain states, and people think that policing around the country is the same. Well, let me tell you something. A lot of people don't know. It is not. They teach policing one way up north in, say, Chicago, and say down here in Atlanta, it's taught a totally different way. Now, the basic function of law enforcement is the same: lock up the bad guy, preserve the peace, protect the public best you can. Yes, that's the same, but use of force might be taught a little bit different. Rules, policies, everything might be different. Okay, what they do in one city don't mean they do it in the next.
Well, let me ask you this question next because you may feel like we already answered this, but if not, I want you to try to give me the best answer you can, John. Why do you think it is that it seems that black people get killed
Hmm.
when they allegedly commit an offense lesser than a non-black person?
Hmm. Now, give me an example.
Well, I think a lot of people, when we hear about these shootings and incidents, a lot of times I will hear, and many people will hear, and I hear people say, "Oh, if they were white, they would have still been alive." Because
Uh huh.
white kids can do this, and they can talk to the police any kind of way,
Uh
and
huh.
they'll make it home. But when you're black, they're gonna shoot you, you're gonna go to jail. We have a different way we have to act, and even if we don't act right, it's like we're not supposed to just get killed. But if it's a white person, they're gonna get off. It's not gonna be the same. I mean, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean,
Yeah.
why do you think is that something people making up? Do you feel like that's something that's true or
Well, I'm gonna
what?
tell you something. That goes both ways, and let me explain that. Okay. Again, number one problem you have is mainstream media.
Okay,
I
back
don't
to
Yeah,
that.
to that. I don't care if you're talking about Fox, MSNBC, CNN, whatever. Everybody has a narrative that they want to push. And in some cases, okay, like for instance, let me explain something to you real quick.
Okay.
The recent cases that we have,
Hmm.
you had the little girl, Jaslyn Adams, that was shot and killed at the McDonald's, right?
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Uh, the boy that shot her was just captured yesterday, 18-year-old. He had a shootout with police, with Chicago police.
Hmm.
He was arrested, alive and well, charged with murder and aggravated assault on police officers. Then you have Miss Bryant, who didn't attack a police officer, but she went at another female with a knife, about to cause her what we call death and or great bodily harm, in
Hmm.
which at that particular time the officer is authorized to use deadly force, and she's no longer with us, right?
Hmm.
So a lot of people, you can use this as an example, and I'm not even talking about white and black. I'm looking at two black situations. You have a
Okay.
black male have a shootout with the cops after he murdered a little girl a few days ago, and he was arrested alive and well. Then you have a black female who went at another girl with a knife, and she's dead. Now let that soak in for a minute. I said that because it's not always about race, and every situation with law enforcement is different. I heard, and let me explain this. I heard somebody say one time, uh, Dylan Roof, that sad case of a human being who shot those people in that church, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
People say, oh, well, he was taken alive. He was taken alive and well. Now, here's the thing about that case. He was caught 2, 3 days later in a whole nother state. And when I watched the video, and the cop walked up to the car, and the boy's like, "Hey, you know who I am? My name is such and such. Y'all looking for me? Oh, you're that guy. Okay." He stepped out the car with his hands up. They put cuffs on him, put him in the car or whatever. Took him to Burger King, fatten him up. That way you can get him comfortable. He'll talk to you, give you all the information. Boom, he's in prison. I heard somebody compare that case to Miss Bryant's case, and I said, hold on for a minute. You can't compare those two cases because when Dylan Roof was caught,
Hmm.
as bad as that was what he did, he was caught 2, 3 days later. What she did, she committed an act in front of the officer in a matter of seconds.
True.
And so I try to tell people you can't compare every case, whether it's black on black, white on white, whatever, because every case will be different. Like, for instance, uh, remember the DC snipers? You might have been
Yeah.
in. Okay, all right. People say if they were black, they would have been dead. What color was the DC snipers?
Ugh, come on.
You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, that's the son and father.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
the son and father. Yeah.
Well,
So
yeah.
when people say, well, if he was black, he would have been killed. That's not always the case. In some cases, that's true. In some cases, it's not. In some cases, white people are shot and killed by police, yes. Some cases, yeah, they probably arrested them. There was a black man in Mississippi 2 years ago. Again, you didn't hear about this in mainstream media. He shot and killed 8 people, 7 family members, and killed a cop. And I want you to remember what state I just said. What did I just say? Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Mississippi. A black man killing a white cop in Mississippi, one of the most racist states in the union. Am I right or wrong?
You're right. That's what I feel as soon as you say the word.
Okay, so he killed 7 family members, 1 cop, got in a shootout with police, and he was captured alive and sent to prison for the rest of his life. That was just 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. All people have to do is research this stuff, and it's there for you. You know, I've seen white kids cuss out cops, nothing happened. I've seen black kids. I've been cussed out by black kids before. Okay? I've been cussed out by white. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you say what you want to say. Nothing happened to them. Nothing happened to them. Same thing with my fellow officers. I've seen people at my department talk trash, get in the face of an officer. Hey, man, you better back up. And nothing happened to them. So when I see people make these comments, the only reason why I can say, well, that's not always true, Ms. K. The reason being is because I live it. I've seen it with my own eyes. So this is not me giving my opinion. This is me talking facts. This is
what hard to take when you hear people saying that, but then you could just be coming from work and different races done cursed you out. Then you read, then you read what I just said. People are saying that you know, some people don't get away with that, and then you like, well, I just got cursed out today, nothing happened.
Yes, and I'm gonna tell you something. I used to go in on people when I see these type comments, but I've learned, say, look, John, look, they don't know. They see it from their point of view. They either see it in the media, they see it on social media. Social media is a cancer to society. Okay? I use it for entertainment. I enjoy it. But social media is a cancer because you will have people that see a certain thing, and then you have somebody like me that say, no, that's not how it is. But I'm going to let y'all have y'all peace because no matter how many times I explain it to you, you're not going to understand. And the only way we can understand is I had one of my good friends. He had these same questions. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know what? Come ride with me one night. All right. He rode with me for a whole weekend.
Wow.
And just that one weekend, he said, you know what? Now I see.
I was blind, but now I see.
Exactly. Okay. Now, it's just all about your experience. And you hear cops say a lot of times, in my training and experience, they're not saying that to just to sound professional. They're actually being honest because, like what's that saying? You haven't walked a mile in my shoes.
Yes.
Yeah, I that's me. I say, look, until you walk a mile in my shoes, you won't understand where I'm coming from.
I definitely get that. That was some good points you brought up there. I hate to go on, but we're gonna go on to the next question. And it's a 3-part question, and I'll start here. Are you black or blue first?
I'm black.
Okay.
Most importantly, I'm a man, and I'm a human.
And so that's your final answer for that one. I'm taking it.
Well, I can go more in depth into it. When somebody asked, and I said that, man, choose, man, you gonna be black or blue? You gonna be black and blue? Well, okay. Well, since you want to put it to me like this,
wait, so you get people coming up and asking you that?
Well, yeah, like when you have to deal with people in situations, when we have to respond to certain calls, and you've got that guy who just beat up his wife or beat up his girlfriend or shot somebody's house up, and you catch up with them. And they're mad. They're already upset that they're getting arrested. You're going to jail. It's going to be a long time before you get out. Man, look, man, I don't want to say the words, but the C word that blacks like to call other blacks. Uncle Tom, Step and Fetch it, Buck, words like that.
They say all that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh,
So
so
they
that
come.
you gotta keep your composure when people come at you like that, no
You you
matter if you
you
move
have to
on
keep,
or
yes,
not.
yes. I'm tell you something. People, you have to keep your composure because when people say, "Man, look, you gonna chew, man, you got down, you got on that suit, you got on the white man suit, or you got on that blue suit, man, you're a black man, you're a black man." There's a hold up. Yes, but is it impossible? Why can't I be both?
Mm.
Why can't I be a good, strong black man and still represent and wear this badge and this uniform with honor? I
Well,
still have to.
I'm glad you said that, Chris, because someone also asked, do you feel any internal struggles as far as the relationship between uh people in your line of work and the black community?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
And any black officer will tell you, um, at some point you struggle because you have so many eyes on you.
Mm.
You might feel as though um, your coworkers are eyeing you a certain way, and then you have the community eyeing you a certain way.
Mm.
But and again, you got people, man. You just want to lock another black man up, man. You're doing the white man's work. You're doing the white man's work. But then I look at the victim and I
Mm.
say, you worried about a black man locking up another black man, but your victim was a black woman or
Right.
another black man. So
Mm.
help make that make sense to me. I didn't make you, or that white officer right here didn't make you go shoot up somebody's house, or didn't make you jump on your wife or girlfriend, didn't make you go rob that store. We looked at the video, your face is right there. Nobody made you do this, but now you're upset, and now you're more upset with the black cop locking you up because now what they say is, well, I expect to be locked up by a white man. My
Mm.
brother, number one, I'm just transporting.
Okay.
The detectives and the DA are going to do the rest, and the judge are going to do the rest of the work. I'm just taking you to the jail. But the jury, the judge, and the DA, they're the ones who are going to handle you. You know, but but you committed a crime. So yes, I'm a black man who wears a blue suit, and I wear both with honor. Okay, I'm proud to be a black man, and
Mm.
and I can serve in that uniform with honor. That's the same as when people, when I spent time in the military. Oh, how in the hell you wear, the red, white, and blue, and just this and all that? Well, number one, my grandfather did it in a time back during World War II when they saw true racism, when they couldn't drink from the same fountain as a white man, water fountain as a
Mm.
white man. Then you look at the Tuskegee Airmen, who they went through all the trials and tribulations of what they had to go through, and they became one of the best fighter units, fighting for this country too. So here's my thing: if black men, 50 years, 100 years, 150 years can do it and serve this country, why can't I?
Mm.
They went through way more. They had to prove way more than what black men today have to prove. Way more.
Now that is so true right there to what you said. Another part of this question would be, what is the atmosphere like at work during times like this?
Just among your coworkers.
Yes, when you guys, does it change the morale or the mood between the black and white officers when you see these cases come on TV and it's all the talk around town and everywhere?
Let me tell you something. Believe it or not, and I know a lot of people won't believe this, but again, I'm telling you from my point of view, what I've seen and heard. There are just as many white officers that are embarrassed by the acts of other police around the country as there are blacks.
Mm.
Um, I'm here in Georgia, and we feel the heat for something stupid and unethical that an officer in Minnesota does.
Mm.
And believe it or not, a lot of officers in different states, they're like, hey, that's not us. We don't do that here in our city. Y'all haven't had a problem with us. You know, we haven't done that. You know, like I felt sorry for a lot of officers here in Atlanta. You know, in the Atlanta area. You know, when all the protests started last summer,
Mm-hmm.
they were upset at the officers in Minnesota. But it's like, man, y'all brought this heat all the way down here to the south. We don't have nothing to do with that. You know, and it trickles down. So yes, I know a lot of people say, oh, they just don't care. Long for a lot of officers, a lot of women, men and women in this uniform, they do care. But we the negative officers take the spotlight. They the
Well,
ones that take the
well, how do,
spotlight.
well, how do black policemen deal with the stigma from the community?
You know what? That's one of the hardest things I've done. I've dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is my truth. This is my truth.
Tell it.
Okay. From the older blacks in the community, I don't have that many problems out of those. They speak. They say, "Hey, I'm praying for you, brother. Thank you, sir. Thank you." My biggest problem, or our biggest problem, is probably this new generation,
Mm-hmm.
and there seems to be a lack of respect for parents and all together. And so, if they don't respect their mom and dad at home, what makes you think they're going to respect the stranger in the uniform,
Mm-hmm.
especially a blue uniform at that? Um, I think I've been treated worse by people in my own community than I
Mm-hmm.
have any white person since I've been working. And it pains me to say that, but it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
It's the truth. And I think, you know, when you are out in public and you have, you know, generally more whites or more accepting of you, hey, you know, also whatever. Now, they're looking at the uniform. They're looking at the uniform. Oh, he's a good guy. He's on my side. Don't get me wrong. Someone probably think like that. But then you have, you know, the young black crowd, and they look at you and they mean mugging, you know, because they feel like you're in their way. And I'm gonna tell you again, officers who do dirt around the country don't help the cause, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't help at all. And you have some idiot cops out there that don't need to be wearing a uniform. Let me say that right now. Um, I've worked with some, and the good thing about my area is when they're identified, the administration they get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
They lock them up. They're charged. You know, so that's one thing I can say about my area. So when people say, "Man, y'all don't get locked up, man, police don't get," I'm gonna tell you something. Again, here's that thing. Research. If if you want to know if police get locked up, all you have to do is go online and search it. Because we've had plenty of cops in this area get arrested for being idiots, for breaking the law. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they dishonor the badge, they get arrested, they get convicted. There's actually a lot of people don't know this, but there are actually some prisons. I'm not going to say the name of the prison, but there are some prisons that are mainly housed resident by cops who are former cops who have been locked up. There is a prison where they mostly house former cops who broke the law.
Mm-hmm. Is that so they won't get beat up?
Well, it's sort of like um, the military prison, like Leavenworth, where you have mostly military,
Mm-hmm.
and in this particular prison. Now, you have some cops that are at state prisons. Don't get me wrong. There are some, but there's also this one facility where they say, "Hey, what did he do? Oh, okay, all right. Well, we're going to send him here. He's only got like a 2, 3, 4 year sentence or whatever." But for the hardened ones who have actually committed murders, they're probably going to be at the more hardened state penitentiaries. But yes, a lot of people think that cops don't get arrested. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I personally know I know at least 20 in my career, at least 20 that have been arrested. And who arrests cops? Can't nobody do it but another cop. It's something else for people.
Right.
So when people say, "Man, y'all don't turn each other in." One thing I've learned in my career, that blue wall that everybody talks about,
Mm-hmm.
it's not as high and fortified as people think.
Okay.
It's really not. You have cops turn on each other all the time because somebody's doing something wrong. But again, you're not going to see that in the media.
Well, you know what? That's why we got you here to kind of break some of this stuff down to us. Um, and I appreciate it, and we appreciate it. I want to ask you about tasers and guns because we just saw the whole Dante Wright situation where the officer says she meant to pull her taser and not her gun and ended up fatally shooting Dante Wright. So just give us some facts and information about when to use a taser compared to a gun because it's all kind of things that you have to be aware of, like the size of a person. A lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
the person has any health issues, and that could be a major concern. Especially I mean, either whether you use a taser or the gun. So,
Uh-huh.
um, let's just go through and give people some facts about it because there's a lot of uneducated comments I'm seeing about when people think a taser should be used, how a gun should be used. But I want to hear it from the horse's mouth here.
Well, let me tell you something. I have this past week, or these past few days since the Bryant shooting,
Mm.
that I've seen some comments that I honestly could not believe I was reading. Number one, we're gonna start with the Dante Wright case. That cop was an idiot.
Okay.
Where I have been carrying a taser for 12 years now. Not one time, I've probably tased about maybe 10 people. Okay,
Hmm.
with in those past 12 years, I'm old school police. I prefer to go hands on like a lot of times. But anyway, the taser is not 100% proof. Okay, it's not 100% effective. There's no way I would ever forget that I pulled my taser in my handgun. I don't know who does that, but when she did that, and I'm watching the video, and she's like taser, 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 and I'm thinking to myself, but you have your sidearm in your hand. At what point do you not realize you have your sidearm in your hand? It's the weight is different, the size is different. It just feels different.
I'm
And
about to
with
say the feel is different. I honestly feel like a
yeah,
child would feel the difference.
I have big hands, so my bottom two fingers don't even fit around my taser grip all the way. Okay, so when she says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I had my BS," there's no way because with your taser, you keep your taser on your non-dominant. You have to cross draw for your taser. They tell you
Hmm.
keep it on your non-dominant side. You keep it on your opposite side. For the slow officers in the back, you keep it on on the opposite side of
Correct.
your handgun. You know, and a lot of cops, a lot of us were at work talking about this. And again, the majority of the officers were like, "How stupid could you be?" Another uh, less intelligent cop does something stupid, and now we all look at it as though, man, y'all idiots. Y'all don't know the difference between a taser and a handgun. And that's like, here we go with painting everybody with a broad brush. But anyway,
Yes.
so now we go back to Miss Bryant, and with the Bryant case, oh my God, in that situation,
Hmm.
and I've looked at the video probably 10 times, and when I see people say, "Well, why didn't he just tase her?" A taser, again, is not 100% effective.
Hmm.
What if the prongs didn't connect and she stabbed that girl? And so now we have a dead girl, a dead victim who was stabbed to death in front of the police. So now people are going to change the narrative to, oh, instead of he shot another black girl, oh, the cops let a black girl get killed in front of them. They don't care. So now they change the narrative. Think about that for a second.
No, I not fully understand. So what about the people who are saying, okay, well, he could, okay, so we said he could have tased her, but oh, why did he shoot her in the foot, shoot her in the leg? Why did he have to shoot her
Oh,
directly in her chest over like multiple times?
okay. So there's this thing called the use of force continuum. And I want everybody listening, I want y'all to research this. The use of force continuum. The use of force continuum is, let's say, officer presence, um, verbalization, hand control, empty hand techniques, less lethal methods, which includes a taser, and then you have lethal force, okay, which is the officer at that time can protect himself and or under other individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're practicing deadly force, you will never see a target where you are trained to shoot in the arms or the legs. All right. No use of force training, whether it's law enforcement, military, or private citizen, will ever teach you, hey, today we're going to learn how to shoot in the arm, or we're going to learn how to shoot in the leg. I wish people would stop watching so much TV because that's not how it is. Okay. You're
But
shooting
why not? Why can't you shoot in the arm or the leg?
because you may or may not immobilize that person. How many times have we seen people get shot and then doing whatever altercation? And next thing you know, they say, "Oh man, hey man, you bleeding, you shot," and they look down. "Oh man, I am shot. Take me to the hospital." I've seen
Mm.
that so many times. And so you are trained to shoot center mass with whatever gun training you attend. They're training you to shoot center mass. Some officers, some citizens might have shot once. Some might have shot three, four, five, six times. Okay. There's no law that says how many times a person can or cannot shoot. So when people say, well, why did they shoot so many times? Why didn't they shoot in the leg? Let me ask you a question, Miss K. Was she trying to stab that girl in the leg? You see where I'm going with this? She was going for the look. She had a weapon in her hand, going for a kill shot. And I hate to be so blunt about this, but the way she's going at that girl with that knife, and she stabs her one good time in the neck or in the chest or whatever. Again, they're gonna change the narrative, and that cop was, why didn't you act? So now that officer's gonna get slayed for not acting, but he did what he was supposed to do. I hate the situation, but and a lot of people are saying, well, she called the cops. Well, number one, I think I found out that those other two girls were also they used to that used to be their foster mother, from what I've read, found out in the past day or
Mm-hmm.
two, and they were over there and they started arguing about housekeeping. The girls were arguing with Miss Bryant about keeping the house clean. That's how the argument started.
You
And
know,
even if
life is
even
lost. That's crazy.
yes, oh yes, and even if she did call the cops, the moment she saw the cops outside, she went from victim to suspect in a matter of seconds, because at that particular time, the girl in the pink, she wasn't attacking that girl. She was standing off to the side. You had two cops that get off at the scene. She
You
comes
know,
rolling
I'm
up.
trying to figure out why was it adults there just watching, and one man was seen pushing one, kicking one of the girls, and we
Just,
still trying to figure that out.
just because your age says you're an adult don't mean you're an adult. And don't even get me started on the dad, because I blame him just as well. When she knocks the first girl over, he kicks the girl in the head for whatever reason, I don't know.
That's
Then
when
the
he should
cop,
grab his daughter.
what was that?
He should have grabbed his daughter
He
instead of
should have
kicking
grabbed his
her.
daughter at that point. And then when she turns around and she beelines for the other girl, the cop is saying, "Hey, get down, get down." The cop was right there in front of her when she knocked the first down. She saw the cop, but she still went at the girl with the knife. So this cop, he has to make a split second decision. Somebody is about to die or get seriously injured, and I have to act. And he acted. Now, I
Knife.
won't ever.
Many people, okay, yeah, you say he can shoot as many times as he wants, but why doesn't he just stop at one shot? If he has to shoot, why can't he
Yeah,
just shoot at one shot?
because in most training, when you do your tactical training, most drills are going to be a minimum of 3 shots. We have
Damn.
this drill. We have this drill called a failure drill. Okay, everybody, if y'all listening, you can go look this up on YouTube or online. A failure drill is 2 to the body, 1 to the head. That's what it is. That's a failure drill. All right. Um, some drills will count between 3 to 5 shots. So during this training, again, he shot 4 times. You might have had another officer, a different officer, probably would have shot once or twice. All officers aren't going to react the same. You follow what I'm saying?
Mm.
We all act differently. You probably would have had a cop that probably would have shot 10 times. You know, it just depends. And like I said, he shot 4 times. You shoot to stop the threat. When he shot and he saw that she was no longer a threat, then that's probably when he stopped shooting. And the ironic thing about that is this: everyone is saying another black child life was taken at the hands of the police, but at the same time, another black life was saved by the police. But nobody's talking about that.
Now
And
that is that's facts.
nobody, I haven't seen anybody talk about that. Nobody has reached out to the life, the black life that was saved. Go talk to her. Go see how she feels about that situation.
Well, I have seen a few people in the comments say that because that's been the argument, I mean, with people who felt like the cop was in his right to shoot. They said he saved another life. They think that Miss Bryant having the knife was a no go. So
Let me tell you something now. I've got some hardcore anti-cop buddies, friends. Yes, my friends. Anti-cop all day. But even they say, you know what, man, I got to roll with the police on this one.
wow,
And when
right.
I see, yeah, when I see these couple of guys say that, I'm like, man, so there is hope in the world. So, um, and I'm talking about these guys like, man, y'all this, y'all that, whatever. And like I said, I'm saying, man, look, y'all, you looking at it the whole way. Come ride with me, man. I don't want to. No, I don't want to get caught in your car.
Well, you
So
know what? You bring up a good point. I want to go on to the next question. How do you feel about police body cams? I mean, do you feel like they help a police officer when it comes down to issues like this? And we're seeing it more and more. And of course, in this Bryant case, we can see so many. We can see that angle. We can see an angle from across the street. So it really helps in trying to figure out what really goes on. How do
let
you
me
feel
tell you.
about
Let me tell you something. Body cam footage saved my career.
it? Wow.
Okay. At first, I said, "Oh man, these body cams. They just trying to. They just out to get us. The first time you say something bad, they're gonna try to do this and do that or whatever." But let me tell you something. I stopped bad mouthing the body cam when it actually saved my skin.
Mm,
And when a person actually went and made accusations to the department, right?
mm-hmm.
And they said, okay, well, we'll have a look at the body cam footage. They looked at the body cam footage from myself and another officer. They called that person in and they pretty much said, are you sure you want to carry on with this complaint? And
Mm-hmm.
they showed that person the body cam and they said, you know what? I'm good. Y'all have an
All right.
So those body cams, I love them. I love because number one, I don't care. I'm not out there doing anything shady. I'm out there going by the guidelines best I can. I'm not out there abusing my authority, anything like that. Because like I said from the beginning of the conversation, I treat everybody like I want to be treated, or like my mama or grandmama want to be treated.
Mm,
Right? Officer John might not cut the food until you cut the food. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I can only say sir and ma'am so many times. But some people
Or
just want to be angry. Some people
right.
just want to be angry for no reason. I'm like, sir, it's not that serious. You are literally hyped for nothing. Like, calm down. Now, I'm handling the situation, but then you don't want to handle the situation to where you've got this other cop who pulls up and you look up and say, hey, look, you better calm down. I might let you get away with this, but that guy right there, I'm trying to tell you, he's different. He's not me. And you have cops like that. You have cops that don't like other cops coming to their scenes. They
Mm.
ride up, hey man, you go, hey, yeah, you good, you good, you can go, I got it. That happens all the time.
Here we go with this next question. Are cops supposed to de-escalate a bad situation? I mean, that may be a simple question, but a lot of people feel like that's what you guys are supposed to do. And
Mm-hmm.
if it happen, that's when the complaints come. So is that really what your job is supposed to be? Is to de-escalate a situation when you guys are called on the scene?
I love that question. Whoever asked that question, I owe them a six pack. Let me tell you something. No officer on this earth can de-escalate a situation if the perpetrator does not want that situation de-escalated.
Okay.
Let that soak in for a minute.
Yes.
Some some people are hell bent on acting a damn fool. Pardon my French, okay?
Okay.
Over absolutely nothing. Some people you could talk down, and like I said, this goes back to that officer continuum, which is the first step is officer presence. And a lot of times, that officer, all he has to do is say a few words, talk to the person for about 15, 20 minutes, and that person calms down, and boom, that's it. Situation over. He goes back in the house, you get back in your car, you go back to your spot, when you finish paperwork, boom, everybody's happy. But then you'll have that one person who is not trying to comply. He don't care about nothing what you saying. And that whole time they telling you, I don't give a F, I don't give a F, I don't give a F, I don't care what you talking about, I don't give a F. And you trying your hardest, sir, 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 sir. But that is not working. So although all officers in a perfect world, we would like to de-escalate every situation we come across, but
Mm-hmm.
that's just not the case. This is reality. And like I said, some people they hell bent on acting like fools, and that situation is going to carry on because that person wants it to carry on, and that's on God, like everybody like to say.
Well, that's funny. You learn a lot of new slang
On
out there this
God,
week.
on God.
Period. Period. They like saying that too. Um, so I have another audience question here. The police and black community have always had a bad relationship, something that is unlikely to change in our lifetime. What do
Hmm.
you do to personally bridge that connection?
Community oriented policing.
Mm.
That was big when I first came on. That's when we started this program, the community oriented policing, and I think what happened was towards the middle 2000s. You remember the term beat cop?
Yes.
Okay, our beat cops, which for our city, a lot of cops, and I used to do it because again, this is what I was taught by the people that trained me. We used to park the car in public housing,
Mm-hmm.
and we used to get out and we used to walk, and we used to talk to people, and they say, "Hey, how you doing?" We wasn't in there to go and rough nobody up. We wasn't in there to go and talk mean to people. Hey, what y'all in there doing? We used to get out, park our car. We told dispatch, hey, we're out on foot. And we used to get out and we used to walk around and just talk to people, talk to the elderly. And then, they got the young folks on the porch with them or whatever. And they get to know you. And so even to this day, there are certain people that still know me if I'm in a certain neighborhood. Now they're all grown right now or whatever, but we've had some white officers who probably know. Now, this is going to sound funny. You ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
We have some white officers who know more blacks personally in the black community than some black officers.
Is that
Yeah.
done on purpose? Did they get to know them? So they, cause they knew that would be their main neighborhood. They didn't want to like stick out, you know.
Well,
What?
the officers you may see do that may be that one white officer, that one middle class family that happened to grow up around a bunch of black folks. You follow what I'm saying?
Oh, and maybe it's the black officer who didn't.
Yeah, and so you have a lot of that. You know, you have some and look, remember this: officers are people, not robots, right? And so some officers are people. Some ain't. Some officers will tell you, "I'm not a people person." Why in the hell did you get in this profession? And then some officers are. Some officers like to get out and talk to people. You know, they'll talk our ear to death. You know, they say, "Hey man, shut up and go get in your car and drive off." And, you know, and go talk to somebody else. They go in the neighborhood, they walk down the street or whatever. Hey, Miss Such and Such, and you might see an officer on somebody's porch eating a plate of food. You know, that's how it was when I first started policing.
What
And
happened?
it's society changed. You don't see that much anymore. Where you know you see officers just walking down the street. You have a shortage of officers. Not many people really getting into this profession like they used to back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have some officers that don't even want to be bothered with the community because it's almost like in some officers' point of view, it's like a you versus me, y'all versus us, you know. And with this younger generation, again, some of them they don't want to have nothing to do with the police. Now, I want you to ask me, is that just in the suburbs or that's just in the hood?
Yeah. So is that just in the suburb or just in the hood? Like, what people don't want to deal with you and deal with police officers anymore?
I think it has to do with the environment, and I'm going to explain this. I'm not even talking about the white population. I'm
Mm-hmm.
strictly talking about blacks.
Mm-hmm.
People say all y'all do is patrol the black neighborhood and lock folks up and harass us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, why y'all in the black neighborhood so much? But number one, when I get a call, I have to respond. So I'm not over here for my health on your street. I'm not on your street corner for my health. And I want you to remember something else too. When I get a call, when we get a call to the hood, who do you think called the police?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't no white person. It wasn't no Karen. It
Mm-hmm.
was Keisha, another black person who done called the police on other black people because they're doing suspicious activity.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep it real. All right. Now let's go to the suburbs where the neighborhoods are mostly black. Right? Ask me, do we ever get any calls out there or have to, go to the corners and patrol heavily?
Do you ever
No,
get?
no,
Okay.
no. And if you ride out there, believe it or not, you see people waving at you. You see other little black kids come running up to you. Hey, I want to be a police. You see
Mm-hmm.
dad coming up to you. Hey, how y'all doing? We praying for you, man. Hey, you want a plate? You want something to eat? You good? All right, straight, man. Keep it up. Keep your head up, man. Take care. See you later. Now again, I'm not talking about the white suburbs. I'm talking about the black suburbs.
So you saying there's a difference in mindset between the suburbs and the so-called hood?
Yes, from my training and experience and walking in a mile in my own shoes, I have noticed that there's a different attitude towards law enforcement when I'm talking to blacks in the suburbs versus when I'm talking to the young black community in the hood.
But
Yes.
it's nothing that you're changing about what you're doing. It's just the people in those neighborhoods are dealing with you different.
Yeah, I haven't changed that one thing. You're absolutely right. I'm just riding down the street, waving at people, and I'm not being mean mugged. But then if I drive a few miles away and go to this particular neighborhood, I'm getting shot a bird. I'm hearing F the police. I'm hearing F-12. And yeah, that type stuff. But when I'm out here on this,
Why you think there's a difference?
well, because in that environment, you have a lot of kids. And when I say kids, I'm using that loosely. They're up to no good. The lifestyle is, they might be on a corner, you disturbing business. I mean, let's keep it real now. I'm talking my truth and what I see.
Okay.
You see these guys on the corner, they're selling. They selling. You turn the corner, you see two or three of them. They hopping fences trying to get away from it.
And you know what is I'm thinking, and not to interrupt you, but it could be somebody in the suburbs selling drugs. But this goes back to one of those old things your grandma would say: you can get flies with honey. So the perception is that when you dirty something up and you present it on, if you present a food on a dirty plate, it's gonna be hard to see how good the food is. But if you present the food on a clean plate, you're gonna want it. Basically saying, in the suburbs, it's gonna look a little different. It's gonna be more.
There you go.
Flowers, and the neighborhood's gonna be put together. People in the house, it may not be up no good, but it's the way they presented themselves. So if you in the hood, and they say it's not fair, but if your environment looking like it's run down, and then it's people with the pants sagging, and I mean, I guess that's people.
You going in,
but that's what we see. Then it's already giving off a perception. Is that perception fair?
That's what you were presented, and you are exactly right. Look, I'm gonna tell you something. It's probably, and I know for a fact, it's all kind of dope out there in the suburbs. But what you just said, you hit the nail on the head. It's how it's presented to you, where you got this one guy or this group of people. You might ride by a house, and that guy could have 10 kilos in his house, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'll never know it. You'll never know it. You don't know that dude is a dealer. But again, you drive down this neighborhood and you see the guys, broad daylight, swinging. And then and it's like, oh my God, it's like y'all making it even more obvious when you get all your drive-bys, in the inner city. It's like almost every other night we're collecting shell casings in the middle of the street because this group here is looking for this boy, and they know he stays with his grandmama, and they go shoot grandmama house up because they think he's there or whatever. This is almost a nightly theme down here. But then again, when you patrol the black neighborhood in the suburbs, you don't never have any of that. There's no drive-bys. There's no one standing on the corner at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it's just so different. Again, I'm excluding the white community at all, and that's why I say it's a different mindset. It just seems like it's a different culture. It's like, hey, police, and then you had a mama or the daddy walking a little boy. Hey, my son want to be the police, but if you go down on this particular street in the inner city, man, please, you can forget that. So I think poverty has a lot to do with it. I don't want to say education because I know some great people who came out of the hood, didn't have nothing to their name. And you want to talk about this, some of the most successful people I've ever known in my life, living in $1 million home. And they came from absolutely nothing. But you know what? They made it out. They made a decision. A lot of this stuff goes back to the decisions you make. They made a decision not to fall victim to that lifestyle on what the system wants you to do. I want everybody to listen to that. The system is messed up. That don't mean you have to fall victim to it.
Mm. Now that is deep right there, and you don't have to. You don't. You can live in the ghetto and not be ghetto. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Live
There are a
in the
lot of
hood.
there are a lot of great kids in the hood. There are a lot of great kids in the hood. Um, there are some smart kids in the hood, but again, you got that peer pressure. Hey man, you're gonna be in them boots and you're gonna be on this corner with us. Make a decision. And that's what happens to a lot of
And I just want to be clear. I'm only stating that because I know sometimes people look down on people or their living situation, but I'm saying
them.
you don't ever, people don't have to be what the stigma is of that wherever they're living or whatever the situation is.
Look,
I have like two more questions for you, John. So hopefully you can hang in there. So, another viewer question is: do police officers have to undergo psychological evaluations before being accepted?
yes.
Okay.
Now, I think a better question would be is let me back that question up for a minute, okay? Let me
Go
step back
ahead.
on my answer. Depending on the department, on your city, your state, I can only speak for my department.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I was hired, I had to do this mental evaluation. I had to take these different tests. Now, mind you, I was only 20 years old
Mm-hmm.
when I walked through the door talking about sign me up, you know, and I think I had my head together pretty good because I was raised with a strict upbringing. So when I was 20 years old and I walked in the door and I had to take all these tests and I had to take this the polygraph and they want to see where your hand was.
Mm-hmm.
Now that being said, I will tell you this: some officers might walk through that door and they might be okay mentally, but after a few years on the job,
Mm-hmm.
they may become a little unstable and they might not admit to themselves that they need help, but they do. And next thing you know, if they refuse to recognize it or nobody else recognizes it, next thing you know, they're on CNN for doing something unethical.
Now, just how stressful is police work? Because I always hear it's stressful. Police officers have a high rate of divorce, alcoholism. I mean, what is going on? What are the stressors on the job?
Okay, I know officers who have been married two, three, four times. I
Mm,
know one particular officer personally; he's been married 5 times.
dang.
Um, I know officers who are alcoholics.
Mm-hmm.
After a long 12-hour shift, 16-hour shift, sometimes 20-hour shift, when you're dealing with people screaming at you, when you're seeing dead bodies all day, when you're having to fight with people, you know, um, when you're being, spit on and, having things thrown at you or whatever, you're going to go home, you're going to take a few shots. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Some officers do go seek mental help, but where the stress come in is I can still see the face of a small child who passed away 15, 20 years ago. I can still see the faces of a lot of my victims.
Mm-hmm.
Certain things just stay, you can't unsee it. Where you see death on a constant basis. Um, Sometimes you just go home and you just cry
Mm-hmm.
because of the things that you've seen. And again, cops are human. Some are mentally stronger than others. You know, um, again, for a while, we have some cops that walk around for 15, 20 years, and it might not bother them.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have that cop who's been on 15, 20 years, the same amount of time, and he's about to crack
Mm-hmm.
because of what he's seen. And so that's why you have a lot of cops. That's why there's a high rate of suicide among cops. Almost just like the military. How you hear about a lot of military members committing suicide.
Yeah. Is there no program to like kind of influence you guys to go through therapy as you're going along in your career?
There are programs out there, yes, but
Okay.
again, um, like they always say, we can't help you unless you want to be helped.
Mhm.
And some people recognize, hey man, I need to take leave. I need help. And those officers are safe. They're not going to do anything stupid, but they need to get away for a while. They need to go talk to someone. They need to unload. Then you have that officer who keeps everything bottled in and he blows. Now, I'm not excusing some of the foolery that officers do out here because there are a lot of officers out here that again, they do some messed up stuff. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it don't have anything to do with their mental capacity, their psyche.
Mhm.
That person, that cop, is just an a hole. We
Mhm.
have some out there. They just want to be an a hole to everybody. They don't know anything about respect. And I think we just saw that with the Chauvin case. Where he just have respect for life. Just a simple, just get off the man's neck. That's all you have to do. But
Mhm.
he sat there with this smug look on his face, and he was being an a hole. There are officers like that. That they're a hole. Hey, look, some officers don't have to put on the gun and badge to be a hole. That's the person that they are
That
anyway.
walked in. That walked
Yeah,
in, and before they even put the suit on.
exactly. They walked in that way. And I know a lot of them like that. I know, they're the nicest people in the world that walk in that door and they the same person when they retire. Nice, nice person. Then you have this person who has questionable characteristics when they walk through that door and they didn't change. And I don't care. Another big question that we have is what type of training do you guys get? Let me tell you something. I don't care what type of training we get.
Mm.
It's not the training that's failing the community. It's the people who fail to maintain that training,
Okay, say that again. It's the people who.
who fail to maintain that training.
Okay.
Because we're not trained to put our knee on anybody's neck. We're not trained to abuse people when they're in handcuffs. We're not trained to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We do have cultural diversity classes. We do have ethic classes that we have to attend. We have so many hours a year that we have to complete training hours. And if you don't conduct training throughout the year, you'll lose your arrest powers.
Mm.
You'll have your weapon taken away from you. Some agencies may fire you because you didn't take the necessary training throughout the year. So when people say officers need to be trained better, it's not the training. It's the people who do not exercise it. Look, let me ask you a question.
Go
Have you
ahead.
have you ever been on a job and during orientation, your boss or your supervisor they taught you the manual on what to do and what not to do, but there was somebody at work that still took a shortcut
Of
despite
course.
despite of how they were trained. There are law enforcement officers that do the same thing. You got cops out there that were trained to do the right thing, but they want to do things their way. And they do enough to get through the academy. They do enough to get through the FTO training program. But when they get out there by themselves, they say, there's a better way to do this. I'm going to do it my way. And next thing you know, your face is being plastered across CNN.
Well, I'm glad you went there because for the last thing we want to talk about here is police reform, and we got a couple of minutes to hit this topic. But what does that look like to you? And I mean, how do police feel when they hear people chanting police reform, police reform, police reform, police reform? I mean, it's
Okay,
everywhere. It's the hottest word. Her two words
I
out there.
I know police reform, police reform. Okay, where you have people chanting police reform,
Mm.
you have some in law enforcement will say, "Well, wait a minute now. Yes, there does need to be so certain things and practices do need to change in law enforcement, but at the same time, how about we tell those in the community to stop acting in a certain way when they're confronted by law enforcement?" I think
Mm-hmm.
that needs to have. I think there needs to be a town hall. There needs to be a conversation where you have the community leaders and the law enforcement leaders at the table and they say, "Look, we need to come to a solution." Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but because again, that goes back to what I said. Everybody says it starts at home, correct?
Yes.
And at the same time, it starts at the academy. So where you trained at home, a lot of parents didn't train their sons and daughters to go out here and commit crimes. My dad didn't teach me to go out there and carjack nobody
No, we can learn a
because
lot of things on our own.
exactly you learn a lot of things on your own. And so that goes back to what I said about some of these cops. These cops are trained a certain way in their academy, but when they got by themselves, they decide they want to do what they want to do.
Mhm.
And when they finally get caught, like okay, like in my department, when they get caught, they're going to jail. They say, "Hey, well, you taught that in the academy because the first thing you do, one thing I like about my boss, the first when you're involved in something, the first thing they do is they go pull your record jacket, and they're going to look at all the training that you've completed and that you signed off
Mhm.
on, and they'll say, uh, what did you do again? Well, I did this. This is where I learned it. I learned it in training. Oh no, you did not. We don't see that block of training nowhere in our policy book. So you broke policy. And those policy and procedure books are there for a reason. And it serves as a guideline on what type of force we can and cannot use. You know, with my baton, we were taught you don't hit in the neck and head area. You know, you don't hit on the collarbone. Um, you don't tase somebody who's wet. Uh, I mean, there are all types of rules to this stuff. You don't tase somebody who's been pepper sprayed. So you know, it's a lot of rules and regulations that some cops just break willingly on their own. But the department is looked at as, oh my God, this cop right here out of the department of 800, this guy right here he just made a whole bunch look bad.
Mhm.
Just like that cop with the right case. Oh, I thought I had my taser in my hand. No, you did not. Now the whole law enforcement family are looking like a bunch of bumbling idiots. Oh, don't none of y'all know? Don't none of y'all know the difference between a handgun and a taser? Come on, man, you're reaching.
I see that's so true, and that's what people got to get back to understanding. What you do does affect your brother, and people so individual, so into this individualized thinking that they forget it does matter. I mean, there are consequences to every action.
It
Um,
is.
I want to thank you so much for coming on, and I want to give you a couple seconds here to give your final thoughts about all we discussed today.
Okay, my final thoughts is to my community. Please, everyone who's listening, please go online, educate yourselves with your state laws. Okay, pull up Use of Force Continuum. It will tell you everything you need to know on how cops are trained, what they can and can't do. It will give you a better understanding on when you come across these situations. Okay, well, you know what? I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. Right? Some cops out here are here to be your friend. Nobody wants to just lock you up. Nobody wants to murder you or kill you. I've never walked up to anybody and say, I plan on killing him today. Now, I'm going to protect myself at all costs. But the last thing I want to do is take a life when I don't have to. But my
Hmm.
job is to preserve life, to restore order, maintain peace. Okay, but I think there's a huge misunderstanding with the community and law enforcement, and we have to get that back because we've lost it. Law enforcement has lost that luster. It's not what it used to be. And at times, when I see these officers around the country doing unethical practices, it makes me want to retire. It makes me embarrassed to put on a uniform and come to work, and I'm sitting in traffic, and I see people looking at me with a side eye for something an officer did upstate in another state. And that's what it is. Oh man, those cops out in California. Man, look, I didn't have anything to do with that. All right, I live like 2,000 miles away from that place. But that's what it is. When a cop does something, it's magnified.
Right.
So, but that's the same as I don't want everybody. We hear a lot of our brothers, a lot of black men say, everybody ain't no thug. And white people think every black man is a thug. Well, that's how cops think. When a cop does something wrong, everybody think all cops are bad.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're gonna have that sentiment, but just remember this: we the black man don't want every white person thinking every black man is a deadbeat dad, every black man is a gang member. We don't like when they think that about us. So there are a lot of cops out there that don't want the community to think that about them.
Point taken. I really get that. Thank you so much for your final thoughts. And for mine, I would just like to say, I understand both sides of the coin. I know police officers, and I feel like we need them. I don't think the police is something we should get rid of. It's like we're not in a comic book. We don't have Superman. We don't have Spider-Man. Cops, when they're good at doing their job, they can be a great asset to the community. And something you said today for me that really hit was when cops used to be in the neighborhood. I mean, growing up, I was in the DARE program and part of AmeriCorps. And,
oh my God, I miss those programs. Were so good when we had
what
those.
I mean?
Yes, I miss that. That's when we used to get on the bike and ride in the neighborhood. And we actually had some people sign up on the department after they went through that program.
Wow.
It's just, it's got a lot to do with funding.
Get back to that. They take so many important things away that they feel they can save money on. But that's important. It's vital because when you get rid of the little things, it mess up the stuff at the top. Because oh my God, we're losing our foundation. And I always hear, with no order, there's chaos. We got to get back to order. We got to get back to putting the neighbor in hood. That's what I heard somebody say recently. We got to put the neighbor back in hood.
Yes, we do. Amen.
There got to be better relationships between the cops and the community.
Straight fact.
You used to know at least a couple of the community cops' names. We got to get back to being like that. Helping each other out, so the real criminals, the real people that need to be caught and captured, can be caught and captured. So we need to get back to that. I mean, that's the one thing I really want to stress that's important, because I think we can all agree we want to live in a safe community. It's better when we're a village. All this individualized stuff is becoming our damnation. So
I tell you what, when the village tries to raise a young king and queen these days, they might get their head knocked off, and that's a sad part about our community these days, because I came up in the era where my neighbor 2-3 houses down did whoop me and then walked me home to my parents' house, told my parents what he did, and then guess what? I got another whooping from my daddy right there on the spot.
Yeah, you did.
But today, honestly, from what I see,
it ain't gonna. They'll be like, you better put your hand on my child.
Yeah, that'll get you shot these days.
Yeah, don't do that.
But I agree. I miss McGruff the crime dog. I miss the DARE program. And look, when people go around saying defund the police, let me tell you something. You can't defund anything that's already been defunded. And the funds aren't there anymore for those programs.
Well, now that you say that, we just gotta change who's becoming cops, then we gotta, because we need cops. We just gotta do, I don't know, more evaluations, more training. I don't know what the answer is at this moment, but it's got to be something more that's got to be done. We absolutely need some kind of service.
It's the people. It's the people. You got to change the people. There's nothing wrong with the profession of law enforcement. It's the people that makes it or break it.
Well, it's the people, so we can all agree on that. I want to thank you so much, Officer John, and you always welcome to come back. And I know we just kind of hit the iceberg on this topic, the tip of the
No.
iceberg.
Yes.
Uh, so, we'll be in touch and we'll have you on again. But we want to thank you so much for teaching us so much and answering our questions today on
And I
Kera Dangerous.
would, yes, man, anytime. And it's my pleasure. And I'll be happy to come back anytime. Anytime.
Thank you so much. Continue to do what you do. We love officers like you who really love the community and are doing it the right way. God bless you.
God bless you as well. And I'll talk to y'all later. Y'all stay safe, people.
All right, peace.
Y'all, peace.